Well, hello, my wonderful, beautiful broskies and wonderful, beautiful broskies of my Network Nation. 170 plus subscribers special. I just now recently looked, and we got like 171 subscribers up in this house. Hmm. Just now recently I looked, and I saw an excellent mouse. 171, as I just now looked and saw. And I also downloaded two new thumbnail thingies. Pictures for thumbnails. Because I'm planning on restarting some stuff like some more AU/what if thingies. Like, what I used to do back in the older days, like younger years of my channel. Stuff like Snowset, Bloodtail, Gallamy Tail, Game Tail, and shit. There's more. Snowset, Blood, Game, and Gallamy. Yeah, Gallamy Tail. However, I have two more to add to my collection of different AUs. Well, as of now, two more. It's almost like I'm trying to make some sort of Undertale AU expanded universe. Marvel expanded universe, Undertale expanded universe. But I tickle my funny bone way too much. And, the first one I plan on doing, part 1 for, is a little thing I call SCAPETALE. Now, we start part 1 of SCAPETALE with an opening narration. Add my little disclaimer there. The opening narration talks about basically how all of these monsters in this version of the underground, how basically the difference in between, there are more differences in between humans and monsters in this version of Undertale. In SCAPETALE, all the monsters are different types of dragons. And by that, basically, they're themselves, but they have traits of dragons, like different kinds of traits and different ways that they have those traits. Like, for example, dragon wings, or like they're more scaly than usual. Cough, cough, Undyne. And some of them may even be able to have possible dragon tails, or even sharpened claws like that of a dragon. Its front claws and its back claws. And some may even be able to enter their own little, somewhat like mode where their eyes become slitted like that of, basically like that of a dragon. And that's basically the case with monsters. They all are basically their own type of dragon. Like, the Dreamers are their own type of dragon. The Scalabros and Gaster are their own type of dragon. Basically, the Gasters are their own type of dragons. Etc., etc. And for the humans, well, they're basically witches and warlocks. The females are the witches, and the males are the warlocks. Which explains how they were able to create such a powerful barrier after they defeated the monster dragons after the base of the war. Basically, these monster dragons are usually known to be kind. That is, except for in times where a change would be provoked into place in their hearts and their souls. And such a thing like this, a case of a truly pure-hearted monster dragon, the prince of the monster dragons, especially their own faction, basically, the Dreamer faction, Azrael Dreamer, Prince Azrael Dreamer. Basically, him and a witch child, which is basically what young witches are called, witch children. Basically, a witch children that they took in, basically. The two of them had a plan to free all of the monster dragons from their prison, created by the barrier created by the 7 warlocks and 7 witches. So technically, like 14 humans, only they're not humans, they're witches and warlocks in this. But just like in, normal Undertale, the same thing kind of happens. Azrael, being too much of a pure soul, does end up dying, and Chara also ends up dying as well. But that's kind of like the catalyst for the first, pure outcry of a changed soul. The changed soul of Asgore Dreamer. A cry of war. And actually been a while since the original cry of war from their own king. And, the Gasters, pretty much internally are worried. Mostly Gaster himself, Wingdings Gaster, that being his full name. Wing being his first name, Dings being his middle name, and Gaster being his last name. As long as with Gaster being the last name of his 2 sons, Sans of Papyrus. What about their mother? Well, technically they don't have a mother, because part of Gaster's magic is actually the ability to create. And he made a very risky move with basically cost him over half of his magic reserves to create the 2. So technically they are not actually live birth are more or less creations. However, Gaster does not discriminate at all. You know, he treats them as if, they were his own actual children and not creations. That almost costs him his own damn life to make. And you see, Gaster's a pretty strong dragon. So, it taking like over half of his magic reserves just to create the two, that's not something to take lightly. And basically, in between the two brothers, Sans is the older brother and Papyrus is the younger brother. However, not all of this is true. This is only what Gaster has let people know about the two kids. The truth is, it took over half of Gaster's magic to create Papyrus. Sans, however, was an illegitimate son. Gaster was so exhausted after creating Papyrus. However, what he didn't know is that, as a sort of pet peeve project, his assistant, Gaster's assistant, soon to be, basically one of these days, Gaster says, like, he may one day promote her to be, the next royal scientist. Basically, Alphys was working on a pet peeve project to get her kind of in the good graces of the one who's, her boss. And the strongest of the skeleton dragons. You have to have that factored in there. It took the basically strongest of the skeleton dragons over half their magic reserves to just create one being. And Alphys wanting to impress that skeleton dragon, who was pretty much her boss, decided to find a way to, make their own little creation for their boss. See if, they could have their son, basically a companion, someone to call brother. And, this could even do wonders for, Papyrus's self-esteem and basic outlook on life. Because initially, whenever Papyrus was first created, he wasn't all that chipper and confident, like self-confidence boosts everything. And initially, he was actually quite timid and scared of everything around him. And Alphys sought to rectify this by, kind of making her creation basically the equivalent of a big brother for Papyrus. Because she'd actually heard about Gaster's idea to create himself as his own son, and so she started the creation of her own version of that before the creation of Papyrus even happened. So that's how Sans is still the older brother, because he was actually started his process of his creation first, because Alphys started creating first. Gaster didn't actually start creating until a little bit after Alphys was already starting to warm up during the process of creating Sans. So technically he's still older. However, he's still illegitimate, and there wasn't all that much willing DNA for the type of dragon which, the Gaster family would be for Alphys to work with. So that just makes the illegitimacy even worse. And, well, eventually something that even skeleton dragons, go through, though they go through it at different paces than some other dragons. The process of growing their wings. Gaster already has his wings, and he has such a mastery over them that he's basically, no disputing that he is definitely the strongest and smartest out of all of the monster dragons. He is even a Dragon Clan representative of the Royal Guard. Maybe not be the captain like Undyne, but he is still a head representative in the basically point of current royal scientist. Head royal scientist, in fact, where he basically manages mostly everything. And even the creation of something of a pet peeve project that besides papyrus, something else he's working on. Besides just the random DT extraction, that he was kind of working alongside with Alphys. Basically, a certain machine that'd be able to provide power for the entire underground. Not really just a machine, but an entire area that was the machine. The entire machine would be big enough to be an entire area of the underground. This was Gaster's, probably one of his biggest achievements, besides the fact that he created life by making papyrus. And basically this giant-ass machine room thing, he calls the core. And even Asgore the king is like very applauding of this idea. There are some safety measures that probably would need to be taken, considering the people that would be working on the core. And, managing, like, maintenance for the damn thing. But, other than that, Asgore is very applauding of the idea of the core. Other than that, he's pretty damn okay with the general idea. Basically, even, basically, Alphys is basically, Alphys and Gaster are both, like, thumbs up with the idea of the core, and so is Asgore. I mean, what wouldn't Gaster be okay with it? Like, it's his own creation. So basically, the majority of the underground is like green lighting this shit. Like, let's go. Let's do this shit. And basically, It's been a while, and the core is finally up and running. There's a truly reliable power source throughout the underground now, and people are living a lot better lives. Not the best of lives, but definitely a lot better than before the core was built. So Gaster's applied even more for his achievement, and making the lives of the monsters trapped in the underground even better than they originally were before the creation of the core. And well, basically, the fact that Sans is kind of like an illegitimate son to Gaster. Gaster is kind of like, oh, he may not actually be, fortunate enough to actually, go through the process in the right way. Like, he may not be as fortunate as his brother, illegitimate or not. And basically what Gaston means by this, what he's thinking, is basically along the lines of each and every dragon, regardless of what kind of dragon they all have a period of time where they grow their wings. If a dragon basically fails to do this, they're basically made out to be an outcast and are shunned heavily because they're basically a defective member of their society. That's what they're basically known as if they fail to, actually, wings. Especially the skeleton monsters. And even though Sans is illegitimate, Gaster still does not want that for his son. And so Papyrus one day, whenever he's overhearing Gaster talking to Alphys on the phone, and Alphys seems to be panicking, so she's talking loud enough for Papyrus to hear her. And basically Gaster, right as he ends the call, he actually sees Papyrus there, and he's like, oh shit, he heard everything. Damn it, Alphys, why do you have to be so damn emotional? Oh shit, what am I talking about? I'm being damn hypocrite myself. I'm so damn emotional. And Papyrus is like, what about? And Gaster just has to be honest and be like, because of the way your brother is, he may or may not be able to his wings. And Papyrus is like, oh, you mean these? Wings just come out. They just whoosh out. And Gaster's just like, yes, exactly. I'm not exactly sure if your brother will be able to do it. And Papyrus is just like, don't worry, Dad. I have faith in Sans. And if he's not able to, I might actually have a way for him to do it. And the Gaster's just like, what? Wait, what? What'd you say? What you talking about, Willis? I made it funny. And Papyrus is just like, this, it's a little invention. I was wondering what you and Alphys were talking about, and I considered the fact that it might possibly have something to do with Bro and his wings. And so basically, Papyrus explains that these are basically artificial wings that basically will be placeholders that will pop up just in case Sans' actual wings, if he even has them, don't pop up on their own. I this is actually paper. And basically, guys are just like, this is perfect. Like, this is stop, like friggin' Sparta. 300 reference. I made another funny. And so basically, the day finally comes where Sans, it's basically the day where Sans is basically going to be before all of the part of the skeleton people, and even Alphys, because Alphys is kind of underneath Gaster, being his assistant. So even she would be there. Alright, after I'm done. Love you too. Anyways, basically, all the important people are there. So Sans basically, is in front of everybody. And, he tries, and, Castor is secretly whispering to him, and, Papyrus is secretly whispering to him, basically what he's supposed to do, because, basically, Alphys has been giving him checkups, like, going to checkups on Sans, so there hasn't been much time for Gaster and Papyrus explain to Sans how the whole popping out the wings thing is supposed to work. So they're using the little time that they have now to whisper into his non-existent ears, basically how the process is supposed to go about. And to not feel too peer pressured, because even if no one else does, they'll still love him for who he is. Even if it doesn't work out. The way, you know, everyone thinks it should, or feels it should. And basically, wings do indeed jut out, but Sans doesn't feel like there's something wrong about them. However, he still accepts the praise that people are giving him. However, whenever, Papyrus, Gaster, and Sans all get home, basically, it's during the middle of the night and everybody's supposed to be asleep, but Papyrus can't help but hear some weeping coming from what he believes to be the bathroom. Whenever he goes to open the bathroom door, he sees a weeping Sans, basically blood everywhere, having ripped off his artificial wings. And that's where Papyrus remembers, yeah, illegitimate or not, Sans is still the smarter of the two. And so it's like, shit, should have been able to figure out that he would have been able to figure out that these were fake. And that's when our Papyrus will come to the realization that, oh shit, he's gonna be pissed. He probably is already pissed. And depressed that we would kind of fake this shit. And basically almost like he read Papyrus's mind, read his mind. Sans would just be like, why? Am I not enough for you? Tell me, am I not enough? And then Gaster would just be like, oh, what's with all the shit? Oh, shit. Basically realizing everything. And Sans was kind of coated in blood. And basically, Sans would kind of blast a hole through a ceiling, and he would kind of use his own magic and turn into his feet and basically blast himself up into the air and bolt, like kind of run for it, like run Forrest run. And then another funny, and now Gaster and Papyrus would have to have a search party out for Gaster, his son, and Papyrus, his brother. Illegitimate or not, they don't give a shit. And basically, they would end up, going all around the freaking underground, going around at the speed of sound. Places to go, follow my rainbow, trust me. Don't forget to gotta follow me. Take my hand, set you free. Follow me, set me free. Trust me, and we will escape from the city. I'm unfortunately to you for me. Oh yeah. Oh damn it! Sonic Adventure 2. Anyways, basically, they would eventually end up finding him, but they would realize along the way to finding him, basically, that there were several piles of like bloody dust, and they realized that the blood must be from the trails, like coming off of Sans, because the wounds were kind of like attached. So probably the blood is kind of off from him. But the dust, however, that's a lot of dust for more than just like one monster. So they're kind of fearing the worst, that he may have gone insane at the revolution, that the wings were fake, and that he couldn't actually produce his own. That basically would have been considered a failure in the society of the dragons. Not just the skeleton ones, but all of the dragons. And the entire underground. However, the trail of blood and dust kind of, would just leads up to where they eventually find him. Like, pretty much the entire search party end up finding him. A place known as the Emerald Dragon Shrine. And, Yaster would remark that how the hell did he find this? This is way too old and abandoned, and on the outskirts of the underground, for anyone to just find this randomly. And no one even uses this anymore, so how the hell could have found it? Wait, what? And it's just like, he remembers what the shrine used to be used for, and it's like, oh my god, no. The Gaster remembers that there was a well inside of the shrine, and that inside the well, if you swam down deep enough, you could find this thing called the Mask of Magic Divine. Or as some others call it, the Mask of Magic Divinity. And, Gaster, he's just thinking of the worst scenarios possible. The Mask of Magic Divinity, or Mask of Magic Divine. That mask. If, his illegitimate son goes down there, there's gonna be some problems if he finds the mask. Because, what he's heard about the mask that's in there. Basically, the universal accepted name for the mask is the Mask of of Mususaku. The Mask of Mususaku. Musasaku. And why is it called the Mask of Musasaku? Because the person to have originally first worn the mask was a person by the name of Musasaku. And basically, this person, the reason why they created the mask, because they were the ones to create the mask, is because they wanted a sort of a placeholder for their spirit to live on within the same world in which they died. You see, Musasaku is basically one of the only warlocks to actually give a shit about the dragon monster dragons. He's like the only one of the decent people. And also one of the strongest, if not the strongest, of his generation. Musasaku, basically this dude is like legendary for being a legendary badass of his time. And making a mask, basically a mask that he basically used like magic pressure and freaking buried it, deep down into the depths of the well, like the wishing well thing, so that only those that were worthy could actually reach it, because they'd have to hold their breath like really freaking long to get down there and actually, be proven worthy of actually being able to, conjoin with the mask. And by doing so, conjoined with the spirit of Musasaku. Basically, the mask isn't really meant to be worn. It's more or less meant to, its essence meant to be, converged with those deemed worthy, or at least the person deemed worthy, because only one, person can be deemed worthy of wearing the mask. Not really wearing it, but like merging with the essence inside. And once the essence is outside of the mask, it will just turn into wood, because the soul would no longer be in there. The thing that makes it so legendary and powerful. Because the soul of the person, in their life, in their living time, like the time in which they lived, they were known as a freaking badass. And, well, basically, by the time they get there, they realize that sitting, kind of on the, basically, like, right in front of the well is a very, big ass shitting grin, Sans, kind of talking to himself. That is until they realize, this pressure, this aura that seems to be coming from nowhere and everywhere at the same time. And, Gaster and Asgore seem to be the only people, that can seem to tell, what this is. That this is the key. This is the power of the soul of Musasaku. And since they can sense it here instead of at the bottom of the freaking wishing well, inside of the shrine, Undyne being like, I knew it, I knew it. I knew I should have convinced that freaking turtle to freaking destroy the damn shrine. Get on my, side with the idea of destroying this place so that no one could get that damn mask. Gaster and Asgore, basically their fears confirmed, like, if Undyne thinks that this is the case, like, she's the captain of the Royal Guard, so. And Asgore and freaking Gaster can feel this, and, like, they know only one person who had this kind of key whenever they were alive, this power, this presence, this aura. Musasaku Tachiri. And basically, Gaster just now has to come with the realization that, judging from the shitting grin on his illegitimate son's face, one leg over the other, just his hands cupping his face like this, and then like he was waiting for them to come here. And Gaster also comes to the realization and even tells Asgore, like, look up. Like, legit, look up. And Asgore sees, basically, even though, like, they're basically narrowed it down to he was down there in the wishing well, his clothes, like, his entire drip is not wet in the slightest. So basically, Deadass confirms it. He merged with the spirit inside of the mask. The spirit of Musasaku Tachiri. And upon doing this, Gaster can even see it on his son's face. Dragon eyes. That's why they're feeling this powerful key. He's using the power that he has recently attained. And basically tells them all that Musasaku basically deems, the illegitimate son of Gaster to be worthy of his power. And basically merging with it. And not only that, but there seems to be two holes protruding. And, Gaster doesn't remember, he doesn't remember those holes being there before. And that's whenever Scape is like, surprised. I was too for quite a while. Now, let's dance. I just flex wings and the gusts would like freaking blast everyone in every which direction. And basically, Gaster would just be like, what is this? And Sans would just be like, oh, you know what this is, Father. This is the power of true power. And Papyrus would be there just trying to peace talk Sans into stopping this. And basically Sans would just be like, oh, don't try to peace talk me, bro. Because at the end of the day, I'm not only gonna kill every monster here. I'm gonna kill every single last witch and warlock up there. You may be wondering how I'm supposed to be able to do that. Well, considering all the monster souls that would probably be dead at the end of the day, we'll basically end up summing up to be the amount needed for one human soul, and Asgore has already collected 6, and it was said that he needed 7 in order to become a god. And Musasaku hasn't really said anything against it, at least whenever he still had his own self-conscience within me, before we eternally bonded with myself as the true dominant force. That's right. I'm taking all of your souls and putting them into one. And then I'm taking the other human souls. And that's what they are, the witches and warlocks. They're based off the blueprints known as humans, right? I'm taking all their souls. Once I break out of the barrier, the 7 souls. And I'm killing the rest of the humans. And then, well, I don't know what I'll do then, but I guess I'll think of something. And basically, Gast would be like, I must stop this. And, Sans is just like, you fool. And he would make some sort of hand motion, and Gaster would be like, what? And then someone would just drop down from the ceiling, and they would yell, with their hands stretched out, Shinra Tensai. And boom! And Gaster would just get blasted outwards. And whenever the smoke would dim out, they would just dust where Gaster used to be. And, well, the person who did that, basically they'd be in the shadows as to not reveal their form. And then Sans would just be like, oh, it's good to have friends who have the same interests as you, or at least similar interests. Now, brother, I don't remember saying that you could live, unlike Father over there, and there, and there, and there, and even there. Oops, I hit a soul. Papyrus would just be like, huh? Send out some bones. And, Sans would just basically use his wings to bat all the bones away. And even some of them would smack back at Papyrus. And then, Sans would just say, you, now. And then there would just be another hand held out, the same hand, but it would say, Bansha Tenin, Universal Pull. And, right as Papyrus was about to be pulled up to this person, it was getting really close. Sans would just teleport, above Papyrus, and then just drop his full weight, with his hand down on straight into the floor, but with tiles breaking on contact. just pick up Papyrus by the throat and be like, this is what's going to happen to all of you. Basically, he would throw Papyrus up into the air and basically be like, and now, for good measure. And then there would be like some, and then Papyrus right before like the end would just like hear Muki Tensei, like Muki Tensei, and then like everything would just turn black. And soon enough, everything that was once the underground would just be a burning heap that Sans would just be walking away from, like humming a little tune, like and then there would just be a voice. So, how was your fun? And Sans would just be like, I see you are not a skeleton / pony of any sort of formalities. Then again, I'm not really the kind of type for that either. So you had indeed said that you knew someone else. Are we going to meet them? Because if we are, I think I just might be excited enough to want to join in after all. And the person would just be like, and basically they'd just be like, well, I didn't even say that. Excuse me for my forgetfulness, but we might need an alias for you, seeing as there's so many different Sanses. I already have a name for me. I believe you knew it. But the look in your eyes, they're still thirsty for somewhat of an explanation. And Sans would just be like, call me Scape Sans, and well, as for the explanation of the look in my eyes, well, this person seemed to, this is you we're talking about here, you seem to give them high praise whenever you talk about them to me. Well, that one time you did. For you to be giving someone any praise at all, not just high praise, but any praise at all, damn, they must just be some one strong mother fudger for you to give any shits about them. And then the person would just be like, you're damn straight. Besides, I wouldn't exactly feel like recruiting weaklings to go with me whatever I plan, basically choose to end up next. Say, what do you think about possibly after we get to know each other a little, part ways for a little bit. After all, I'm thinking of, just for old time's sake, giving an old revisit to my past. And I'm sure he'll take good care of you wherever you end up going. And basically, now dubbed Scape Sands would just be like, wherever the wind takes me, I guess. I don't really have anything on the brain as of now. And then this person would just be like, on the brain. That's interesting. Hmm. Hmm. Well, considering that everything just happened now, I hear Horror Tale would be a nice place to head up for someone like you. That is what I already know of you for now. And Escape Sense would just be like, Horror Tale. Sounds rather kinky, if you know what I mean. Oh. Well then, shall I see the good old important Mr. Fashion Police Disaster off? Or do you want to go alone for the most part of your journey? Because if I can teleport, I really don't give a shit. And the person would just be like, I feel rather more like heading back on my own. Plus, I want to see the looks on their eyes whenever they realize what they've done. What they've gotten themselves into. And basically, Escape Sense will just be like, okay, fashion disaster, McGee. Like, okay, fashion disaster, McGee. Whatever the hell you want. I'm gonna go hit up this damn ass horror tale. Whatever the beep it's useful for. I don't give a shit, and I don't think that's gonna change all that much in the near future. I just may end up killing them all. I sense that you won't exactly mind if I decide to spread my influence. As long as it isn't while your friend is around. Hey, partner? And, the person will just be like, no, the hell with it. Like, shake hands. And they basically the person would just teleport, and Scape would just be like, teleporting? What's the fun in that? I want to see what will happen if I cause some dimensional rift bullshit. The person would just be like, Horrortail, Horrortail, Horrortail. Where art thou, Horrortail? I think I might know where you are. Watch out, Horrortail, because SCAPETALE is coming to town. Part 1 ends.